Welcome to Just Cook It Radio, hosted by Chef Mario Pareca and Bill Alexander. Just Cook It Radio is about food, life, and everything in between. And now, your hosts of Just Cook It Radio, Mario and Bill.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. You are listening to Just Cook It Radio on your local station, 590 Radio, WMBS, and also on FCTV, Channel 77 on Atlantic Broadband. I am Mario Pareca. Alongside me, Bill Alexander.
And it looks like we're in the middle of Shiner's Brewery, or Spetzel's Brewery this morning.
In the middle of Shiner, Texas.
Shiner, Texas.
That's
we got to
right.
thank Shiner and Spetzel Brewery for sending us all this cool stuff that we have in our studio this morning.
And if you're listening on the internet or on WMBS, make sure that you go to justcookit.tv so you can see exactly what we're talking about.
Well, we're going to have to take a photograph of it and post it so everybody can see it. I like it. I like the look.
I think it looks nice.
When I got home, like I said, we said last week on the show, the box came right before I got to the station. And I took it home and showed my wife everything. She goes, "Too bad you don't have a man cave."
It's true.
I said,
this is your man cave.
This is my make-believe man cave right here.
Well, it's not make-believe.
Well, we're
real.
here, I guess.
Yeah. But anyway, I want to throw the phone numbers out really quickly. If anyone wants to call and leave us a message, 855-590-0590 is toll-free, or locally at 724-812-0590. Those are the numbers. Don't be afraid to use them. We are here. And we're also on the internet at justcookitradio.com. You can get our apps there. We have apps for iPhone, for Android, all your different tablets that you have, so that there's really no excuse for missing a show.
And not only that, but we are on Fayette TV, and we're on every Sunday and Tuesday. But don't forget, you're seeing a condensed version on TV, but if you want to see the full program, go to justcookit.tv, and you can see the full extended version of the radio show.
Right, and we're on every Sunday and Tuesday, immediately following the House to Home show.
House to Home show, sponsored by the Herald Standard.
Yeah, so make sure you mark that on your calendars. But the first thing I want to talk about today, Bill, is I want to recap last week's Independence Day Fest.
Yeah, it was blast.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun at the mall, and we were there last Sunday.
And I learned more about ice cream than I thought I'd ever know.
Oh, the ice cream was fantastic.
I told you so.
It was warm. I don't think it was as hot as it was last year.
Well, it was close. It was a little bit more humidity because of the dampness coming up off the field, but it was still nice. We had a good time.
Yeah, and the ice cream was great. We had some really good nachos.
Yes, from Fiesta Azteca.
Yes.
Which I think we need to do a show from there.
We could.
I think we really need to.
The nachos weren't on the menu.
No.
But
and I have to thank Bill Jackson for that, because my wife and I went over to get food from there, and Bill was leaving with this big plate of nachos, and we go, "What are those?" He goes, "It's my special concoction." I said, "Really?" He goes, "It's not on the menu." So we said, we want what he has, and I think we saw probably about 30 more people go and get what wasn't on the menu because they special made them. They were really good.
And did you get your sopapilla?
No, they didn't have them.
I saw them marked off. Did they either go fast or did they not have them?
There was a misprint on the banner. They weren't able to do them this year, but they assure me if I come to the restaurant, they'll hook me up. So
we have to go there.
Yeah,
then,
we have to go.
And the snow cones that the chamber made.
Yes,
were nice. Nice and cooling, refreshing.
Actually, that was Chris Kennedy.
Oh, Chris Kennedy. Okay. They were at the chamber booth, though.
They were at the chamber booth, but Chris Kennedy made those, so he deserved all the credit. He shaves ice like nobody else shaves ice.
He had his Mach 3, his Bic Mach 3, just shaving it. Yeah, it was great. It was a lot of fun. We met a lot of really great people. You and I were doing check-ins right here on WMBS throughout the day with Mike Sackley.
And we were jumping over to the Fayette TV booth occasionally, and I think we also talked to Bob Junk from Buy Local over there, and talked to quite a few people that listen to the program on every morning, every Saturday morning. So it was kind of fun. We had a good time.
It was a really fun day, and it culminated with some really nice fireworks. Right. And by that time, it cooled down, and it was a great way to celebrate the upcoming 4th of July.
And again, with the weather, got so lucky because we had that stretch of rain the days before, and they were assuming it was going to rain that day. Heck, the Pirates were in a delay for how long?
2.5 hours.
2.5 hours, and the storm went north, missed us totally in Uniontown. So all those prayers Saturday night actually paid off. We had a good time. We really did.
All in all, it was a great time. So remember, it will be back next year. Right?
Every year.
So make sure you mark it.
That was number
keep that in mind.
18 from what I was told. That was number 18.
18, so it's officially an adult.
Yes, it is an adult. It can vote next year, or this year, yes. So
very cool, but make sure you keep that in mind for next year. It's an event you don't want to miss.
It was fun. We had a good time. And the bands were actually very good, too. We really enjoyed those.
Yeah, the bands were really good. I mean, I couldn't see them because I was at the WMBS booth for most of the day, but I could hear them, and they were really entertaining, very talented. But up next, I just want to bring this up really quickly because we talked about Paula Deen last week.
Yes, we did.
And I don't know if you saw this, but on CNN, old President Jimmy Carter did an interview.
No, I didn't see it.
And boy, did he defend old Paula Deen.
Really?
Yes. Well, they're from the same town.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
Yes. So he said, let me see if I want to get these. It says here that they grew up about 40 miles apart, and that they are actually really good friends. So here's his quote. It says, she was made, and this is a quote from Jimmy Carter, the President Jimmy Carter.
Former president, yes.
Well, once a president, always a president, right?
Correct.
So it says, she was maybe excessively honest in saying that she had in the past 30 years ago used this terrible word.
Right.
It says, and then he went on to say, I think she has been punished perhaps overly severely for her honesty in admitting it, and for the use of the word in the distant past. She's apologized profusely. He went on to advise her to let the dust settle and to make apologies. He said, my heart goes out to her, but of course there's no condoning the use of a word that abuses other people.
Yeah. And like I said, I think the whole thing's going to die down. Give it some time. Just let it go away. She'll be able to rebuild it. Again, advertisers are going to do what advertisers think they need to do to protect their brand and to protect their image. And if someone that does something negative or admits to doing something negative publicly, what are they going to do? They're going to wipe it away. They're going to wipe that advertiser away. We've seen Nike do it. Mm-hmm. We've seen a lot of other companies do it because the problem is they don't want to be associated with negative press. And right now it's negative press.
Yeah, and it's a little more than negative press because it's not just she did something bad. It's she offended other people.
Well, she offended other people.
And other people that, represent their brand in some capacity.
That's very true.
Throughout the world as
that's
well.
True.
So it's a touchy subject. I just found it interesting that Jimmy Carter would defend her. They didn't ask him about it. He actively brought it up during a CNN interview.
From what I understand, and again, this is just secondhand information that I've been told, that I guess there's been some civil rights leaders that have been defending her also, saying that she has been punished enough. It's now time to let the dust settle and let everything maybe not go back to normal, but at least let her get along with her life. Yeah.
Well. Yes, and yes.
It's an unfortunate situation is what it is.
Especially when you're in the public spotlight like that, you always have to watch what you say.
That's right.
So that's that. We'll move on, but I just wanted to bring that up because I thought that was interesting.
That is interesting.
And on another note, Bill, happy National Fried Chicken Day.
Fried Chicken Day. Sounds good.
I love fried chicken.
How do you like your fried chicken made?
Well, I have some tips here we're going to talk about, but I like it extremely crispy on the outside and extremely moist on the inside. Okay. That's the rule of thumb, and that's something that a lot of people find difficult, especially with dark meat if you're doing wings or legs. Okay. Because the dark meat takes a little longer to cook than white meat.
Gotcha.
Than a breast, so to speak. So they'll over fry it, so it gets crispy on the outside, but then it's dry on the inside. Okay. So that's something you really have to watch. So how do you like yours?
How do I like? There's different batters I have. There's a honey dip batter that I like. That as long as it's extra crispy on the outside, it's wonderful. And even KFC's, I like their
extra tasty crispy.
Yeah, I like that. And I've had other restaurants. Now I posted photographs from a few weeks back when we were at the Wellsboro Diner up on northeastern part of the state, and it was a honey battered dipped chicken. It was excellent. I mean, it's one of those chickens now I crave for. That if I could, I would be driving to Wellsboro, PA.
Well, I generally don't batter. I generally flour. Okay. And the flour, buttermilk and flour will generally give you that crispy texture. But here's a few tips for making your fried chicken at home, and then we'll probably have to go to break after this. So let me get through these really quickly. The first step is to brine it. Okay. You want to make a brine. You're going to make a brine with water and salt, and you can put herbs in it. I know Michael Ruhlman likes to use rosemary in his, and he's a food author and recipe tester that's very well known in the food field. He likes to use rosemary. You can use onions, you can use garlic, but you make your brine, you chill it, you cool it down, then you submerge the chicken in it and you let it sit overnight. Then what you want to do is, and that'll help get it juicy and it'll absorb that flavor, so that it'll stay juicier and stay more flavorful. Then you take the chicken out of the brine, you want to put it on a rack, on a tray, and put it in your refrigerator uncovered to let the skin partially dehydrate. You want to let it dry out and just kind of get that skin on it so that it'll hold more of, the drier it is, the more of the batter or the flour it'll hold and the crispier it'll get. So after you let it sit out and let it dry like that, you want to really season your flour. So you want to take your flour and you want to put salt in it. You can put a lot of black pepper, cayenne, paprika, whatever you like. Just make sure it's seasoned really well because that's where you'll get a lot of your flavor. Then you want to use, I like buttermilk, but you can also use yogurt if you thin it down a little bit, sour cream if you add a little milk to it. It's about that buttermilk. Think of the texture of buttermilk and the viscosity and the thickness of it. That's about what you want to have. That's the purpose of it. It's the thickness and the viscosity, and there's a little bit of acid in buttermilk that'll actually help tenderize the meat
I didn't know that.
So then you want to dip it in your buttermilk, and then you go straight. You start with flour. You dredge it in flour, then you go to buttermilk, and then you go back to flour to finish it. So you have your seasoned flour, your buttermilk, then your seasoned flour again, and that's going to give you that outside, that crispy texture that you want. And the flour, again, if there's any moisture left on the chicken, the first dredge in flour will take care of that. Then the buttermilk will actually hold to it, because liquid won't hold to liquid, but liquid will hold to something dry. And then you go back in the flour to get that outside crispiness. And then you take that, and then you're going to want to deep fry it. So it's the oil about 375 degrees, and the reason for that, it's a little 375 is a little high, but when you put anything in oil, especially chicken like that, it's going to drop the temperature of the oil as soon as you put it in there. So you don't want it to drop too low, because if that happens, it's going to boil and it'll never get crispy.
Oh, really? Okay.
So 375, you put that in there and you let it go until it's golden brown on the outside. Then what I like to do is take it and put it on a rack to get the excess oil off. And then I like to go in a 250 degree oven. Just until it's done on the inside. Use the thermometer when it hits about 160, 165 degrees. You can pull it out, season it again, a little salt and pepper, ready to go.
Sounds good. Sounds real good.
And you can actually fry it ahead of time. Keep it on that rack
that's a good
in
idea.
the refrigerator. So if you're doing a party for like 20 people,
that's a good idea.
You can batch fry your chicken, put it on a rack in the refrigerator, then the next day when they come, pop it in the 250 degree oven to reheat it. Because when you think about it, you can get frozen fried chicken that's already fried that you just put in the oven. So you can do it at home that way as well the night before. That way it saves mess, it saves time, but you still get that great
That's a good idea. I never thought of that.
Homemade fried chicken.
I never thought of that. It's an excellent idea. And speaking of that excellent idea, it's time to go to a break.
That's an excellent idea.
I'm sure it is.
Don't touch that radio dial. We will be back with more food holidays, and we have some fun food news coming up for you right here on Just Cook It Radio, which is being served up to you today by the Big Barn Country Store and Deli, by Pareca Chiropractic Center, Inc., by 4th Street Barbecue, by the Herald Standard, and on FCTV by Phil Gianetti Motors.
And you're watching Just Cook It on JustCookIt.tv and also Fayette TV, and you're listening to Just Cook It Radio here on your local station, 590 Radio WMBS. Phil Gianetti Motors at 656 National Pike East in Brownsville is a proud sponsor of programming on FCTV. Phil Gianetti Motors, providing quality vehicles for 45 years. If you're looking for a quality pre-owned vehicle, give Phil Gianetti's a call at 724-785-6800 or stop by their website, philgianettimotors.com.
Good to have you back. You are listening to Just Cook It Radio right here on your local station, 590 Radio WMBS. I am Mario Pareca. Alongside me, Bill Alexander. And Bill, they're also watching us on FCTV, which is Channel 77 on Atlantic Broadband. And also on FayetteTV.org, and also on JustCookIt.tv. I get all these domain names mixed up sometimes. We'll get it eventually.
Eventually we'll get it.
It's coming. But again, you can call us 855-590-0590 or 724-812-0590 are your numbers that you can call us at any time. And also, we just talked about today being National Fried Chicken Day.
That's right.
And tomorrow, Bill, is National Strawberry Sundae Day.
We have a lot of ice cream, which, did you know this? July is National Ice Cream Month.
Well, we certainly, we started early,
We kicked it off a day early.
The day early, yeah.
But July is National Ice Cream Month.
Well, we better get Jackson Farms on the show for National Ice Cream Month.
I think we need to talk to Bill and get him over here.
Yeah. Well, let's see what we can do, and tell him if he comes, he should bring some butter pecan.
Yeah, that was good.
That's really good. Yeah, but one thing I want to talk about on National Strawberry Sundae Day. I like that. Day? Yeah. Because there's one thing I want to talk about because I had to look this up for myself, and I figured I might as well share it with everyone else because if I get confused with it, I know I get confused easily. But if I get confused with this, a lot of people probably do. So the topic of this is what's the difference between all the dessert sauces? So the difference between a syrup, a sauce, a spread.
Okay, that makes sense. Okay.
So really quickly, I'll just give you the real quick rundown. A syrup is thinner than a sauce and is pourable from the bottle. So think chocolate syrup or maple syrup.
Gotcha.
They're typically just flavored sugar and water, perhaps with a thickener. Commercial syrups often substitute high fructose corn syrup for sugar, which isn't good. So try to find stuff that don't have high fructose corn syrup. A sauce, a dessert sauce, has a thicker consistency than a syrup. Think of like a consistency of preserves, like orange preserves, or something like that. The difference between chocolate sauce and hot fudge sauce. Hot fudge sauce is typically described as a thick chocolate sauce served hot. So in recipes that we've looked at, hot fudge sauce typically has cocoa added in addition to chocolate, creating a more chocolatey or fudgier, if you will, flavor than something labeled simply chocolate sauce.
Okay, that makes sense.
However, they go to point out that there are no standards, so terminology will vary from producer to producer. So products that are very fudgy, like King's Cupboard, for instance,
fudgy, yes,
will be called chocolate sauce, and products that are less fudgy and thick will be labeled hot fudge sauce. So it's a challenge. You just have to look at it and figure it out, I guess.
That makes sense.
A spread is thicker than a dessert sauce. So think smooth, creamy, spreadable with a knife like Nutella. Okay. Spreads can be used for breakfast spreads, cookies, biscuits, plain cakes, or pound cakes, and brownies.
Right.
A fruit butter is a variation.
Fruit butter
is a variation of a spread that can contain chunks of whole fruits. Pumpkin butter is popular. Apple butter is popular.
Okay.
Commonly used instead of jam on breakfast spreads and does not contain any butter. So they're called butters because of the consistency. So you take apple butter. You take apples with sugar, some lemon juice, some cinnamon maybe, and I like to use a little bit of whole butter with mine.
Okay.
Because it helps the caramelization process, and you just cook it
I would have never guessed that.
low and slow until it all breaks down and turns that real brown caramely color.
Yeah.
And then you have apple butter.
Okay, I would have never guessed that.
We used to make pear butter too. Pear butter is great, especially with cheese. And the final one is a curd. A curd is a different type of creamy fruit-based spread made from fruit juice, butter, eggs, and sugar. Citrus and berry flavors are the most popular. Curd is more versatile than fruit butter. It can be used on breads, pancakes, ice creams, and other desserts. Curds you generally see in like English cooking. The English eat a lot of curds.
Like curds and whey?
Curds and whey.
Okay.
Was that Little Miss Muffet who sat on her tuffet eating her curds and whey? When that along came that darn spider and sat down beside her and scared and frightened Miss Muffet away.
And that was our literary portion of the program today.
See, this is a children's show, too. So, that takes care of Strawberry Sundae Day.
Okay,
so
that's
go out
good.
and get your strawberries, your strawberry sauce, your strawberry curd, whatever it is you like. Don't let me tell you how to live your life. If you want to put curd on your ice cream, please do.
Okay. Why not?
Next, on the 8th, we have National Chocolate with Almonds Day.
So, in other words, a Hershey bar with almonds would cover that. There you go.
Or, one of my favorites, you go to a place we're going to talk about later, either later in this show or on the podcast, Starbucks.
Yeah.
They make these smoked almonds that are coated with dark chocolate.
Yes, I've had those before.
Gray sea salt. Oh,
yeah, they're wonderful.
Those are one of my favorite snacks. So there's your chocolate.
So how much chocolate does it have to be with the almonds for it to fall under that day?
They don't specify. I generally like to have my almonds coated with chocolate.
Right.
I mean, that's just my thing. But however you like them.
I have very simple taste, so the Hershey bar with almonds works for me.
I like Hershey bar with almonds too, but those Starbucks, those little treats that are like the little chocolate balls with almonds, I can pop those all day long. Not that I do, but I would enjoy to. On the 9th, we have National Sugar Cookie Day.
I like those.
Yes, I do too. And really quickly, I'm going to give you 5 sugar cookie tips. So 5 tips that you can use when making your sugar cookies. Okay, these are very, very important when making sugar cookies. Tip number 1, measure your ingredients very carefully. Okay, any sugar cookie recipe, any baking recipe is very delicate proportionally.
You have to be precise.
When you're cooking, you can taste, you can change, you can do what you want to do. But when you're baking, you really need to make sure that you have your proportions right, because the texture will change, the desired finished outcome will change, whether you want it crispy, chewy, delicate, or melting, whatever. Number 2, mind your butter. Okay.
Mind your butter.
The key step into making cookies.
Mind your butter.
Yes.
Okay.
Be very careful. Pay attention. Love your butter. Just love it. Pet it. Love it. No. But be very careful with the butter, because a key step in making cookies is the creaming the butter and the sugar. If the butter is too soft, your cookies are going to turn out greasy. If it's too cold, they'll be very heavy.
Okay.
So you want to start with evenly softened butter, and the only way to do that is to let it sit out at room temperature.
Right.
So and if you want it to go a little more quickly, you can cut the butter into tablespoon squares or smaller chunks, and it'll soften faster. But you don't want to use the microwave, because again, it'll get too runny.
Get soggy.
Yeah, and a lot of times if you use the microwave without turning it, it'll get real moist on the outside and still hard on the inside.
Yeah.
So make sure you let the butter sit out. I know it's hard. Patience is a virtue. Virtue is a grace. Grace is the little girl with the dirty face. That's what they always used to tell me. But patience.
I never heard that before. Consider it. Hey, before you do that, I have to do this. You're listening to your local station, 590 Radio, WMBS, Uniontown. Okay, now you continue.
Thank you. But anyway, so make sure the butter, you let it sit out until it's soft, room temperature, and then that'll help the cookies better.
Okay, that makes sense.
Number 3, keep your flavorings, and this one is just in particular sugar cookies. Keep your flavorings simple and make sure they're very high quality. Sugar cookies
by
nature.
What do you mean flavoring?
If you add anything to the batter or to the dough, I should say.
But how could that be considered a sugar cookie then?
Well, you can add things like orange zest, like grated lemon.
I mean, I've known people have done lemon.
Yeah. So if you're going to do that, I personally am a purist when it comes to sugar cookies, and I like mine just plain. But there's one thing that I do like in my sugar cookies, and that's fresh vanilla bean.
Yes.
So
I can see that.
I do like vanilla in it. But they're very simple, and that's what makes sugar cookies great.
Yeah.
So if you're going to add flavorings to it, such as the vanilla bean, which I love, or your lemon zest or orange zest, make sure that they're very high quality, and make sure that they're simple flavors. You're not adding the whole cabinet to them. Number 4, roll and cut the dough in a very friendly environment. Keep the dough. Do not agitate your dough. If it gets angry, it'll ruin your day.
Yeah.
Basically, you want to make sure your surface is dusted with flour. You want to keep it as cool as possible, because your dough you want to keep as cool as possible. So that's why bakers, if you know, professional bakers and bakeries, they always have a marble cutting surface or a marble slab surface. Marble stays cooler
I never
than
realized
any
that,
other
but that
material.
Makes sense, yeah.
So if you have a marble board, get a small piece of marble that you can roll your cookies out on.
Right.
Keep it cold, keep it chilled, and then you end up with a better cookie.
I would have never thought of that, but that makes a lot of sense.
And the final tip in sugar cookie making: make sure you move your baking sheets. Okay, not like the sheets in your bed, your baking sheets that you cook your cookies on. You want to rotate your sheets 180 degrees halfway through the baking process, and the baking on the center rack is the best. That way, and if you're using multiple racks, switch the position of the sheets, moving top to the bottom and bottom to the top, so that they brown evenly and help you prevent over-browning the edges.
Who would take that much time to figure that one out?
Well, see, ovens vary, especially the more you use them. They can have hot spots, just like your grill does outside.
Yeah.
And if you don't have, that's why most commercial places, like bakeries and professional places, use convection ovens.
Yes.
Or those deck pizza ovens. A lot of places will use those deck ovens.
I never realized that,
because they stay more evenly.
Consistent
in heat. So when you're using your oven at home, if you don't have a convection oven or a deck oven, which I don't really know in a lot of houses that have a deck oven, but which would be kind of cool.
If you did,
Yeah, but what you want to do is even when I'm making roasts or steaks, I do this. You want to rotate your pan. When I'm roasting chicken, I rotate it every half hour. Just to keep it evenly.
Consistently. I would have never guessed that.
Evenly. So very important you do that with your cookies as well. And again, if you're using multiple racks, the middle rack's best, but if you're using the top and bottom, halfway through, move the top to the bottom and the bottom to the top.
My wife uses a sugar cookie recipe that has been in the family probably for almost 100 years now. And the one thing I find interesting when she makes it is she actually when she has to sour the milk.
Okay.
And I never knew she puts vinegar in the milk.
No, yeah.
To sour the milk. I'm going, Interesting. Why don't you just get sour milk? But again, I guess it's consistent and being able to do something like that.
You can actually sour milk with lemon juice too.
Really? I would have
so
never
you could
guessed
use
that.
lemon juice. You should try that and see if it makes a difference. Because
That's actually a good idea.
Yeah.
But see, she makes them because her father, who's in his 80s, that's the recipe his mother made.
Okay.
And that's the sugar cookies
Makes
he
sense.
wants. And usually it's around the holidays, and they're wonderful. I mean, you can't just have one.
Samples next year?
We'll see.
You can't share them. They're top secret.
Well, no, you can't. You can't have the recipe either.
Well, can I have a cookie?
Well, you can have a cookie. I'll see what I can do.
So after Sugar Cookie Day on the 10th, we have, now this one makes sense, this first one. You're going to think I'm crazy when I say it, but just remember it for tomorrow, for the 11th. On the 10th, the first one is Pick Blueberries Day.
Okay.
And it's also National Pina Colada Day. I love pina coladas.
How does that make sense?
Well, those two don't, but for tomorrow, for the 11th, keep in mind Pick Blueberries Day.
Okay.
But it's also National Pina Colada Day, and pina colada, as you know, is the sweet rum-based cocktail. It's made with rum, cream of coconut, and pineapple juice.
Yeah, if it didn't have the coconut juice, I'd probably be fine.
It doesn't have coconut juice. It has cream of
coconut, but you know what I'm saying. It has the coconut flavoring in it.
Oh, I love it. I love pina colada of all kinds. One of my favorite cocktails. And you can also make virgin pina coladas without the rum.
What's the use of that?
But there's no fun in that, right?
What's the use of that?
You don't like it to begin with. The rum's the only thing that's going to make you choke it down.
Oh, that's good.
Then on the 11th,
I could sing that pina colada song. No,
Jimmy, was that Jimmy Button?
No, it was Rupert Holmes. I think that's who
How's
it was.
How's it go again?
Never mind. I'll find it.
You like pina?
Yeah,
anyway, the 11th is National Blueberry Muffin Day.
Oh, I love blueberry muffins.
There's your, yesterday was National Pick Blueberries Day, so you can pick them, then you have them to make your muffins. Right. And here's really quickly 3 things that you need to know, and this is because a big thing with blueberry muffins, when you're baking them, the blueberries can turn your muffins blue because
that would make sense.
you want the muffins to stay white and lightly brown with the blueberries inside, not all blue all throughout. So here's 3 things you can do to help you keep your blueberries intact as they bake. Wait until after your batter is fully mixed, of course, to add them. Adding them earlier will make them seep more, and the more you mix, the more they are apt to break open. Dust the berries with a tablespoon or so of flour before adding them to the batter. Then fold them in as gently as possible, using as few strokes as possible. Or if you're using frozen blueberries, remove them from the freezer at the very last minute, dust them with flour as before, and then gently again fold them in fresh.
Yeah, so that makes sense.
Yes, just a couple things you can do with your blueberry.
So before we get to the last day of food holidays, let's take our next break.
Okay. Again, don't touch that radio dial. We have one more food holiday to go, a couple food news stories, and we'll just keep chugging right along. This is Just Cook It Radio, being served up to you today by the Big Barn Country Store and Deli, by Pareca Chiropractic Center, Inc., by 4th Street Barbecue, and by the Herald Standard.
And you're listening to Just Cook It Radio here on your local station, 590 Radio WMBS.
Welcome back. You're listening to Just Cook It on your local station, 590 Radio WMBS, and also on FCTV, Channel 77 and FayetteTV.org. I am Mario Pareca.
You forgot Just Cook It TV.
JustCookIt.tv.
Yeah, you forgot
online.
that. Yeah.
I forgot that. Okay.
You forgot that.
Just to mention it again, on FCTV Channel 77, which is Atlantic Broadband, FayetteTV.org, or at JustCookIt.tv.
And when you go there, you actually see the full program of what we do here in the radio station.
From beginning to end.
That's right, in our studio.
I am Mario Pareca. That is Bill Alexander.
Looks like a man cave today with our Shiner stuff that they graciously gave us.
Shiny Shiner stuff all over the studio.
From Spetzel Brewery. And people, if you're wondering what's in the bottle today, it's coffee. It's not
iced coffee.
It's iced coffee.
The coffee a la Bill Alexander. Mm-hmm. But we have these cool little Shiner koozies. They send us all kinds of toys. It's a lot of fun. I
like the flash drives that they sent.
Yes, the Rams Head
flash drives.
But we went through the food holidays. We have one more to get to, which is on July the 12th, and that is National Pecan Pie Day.
I love pecan pie.
Is it pecan?
Pecan. Depends on what part of the country you're from.
When I looked it up, the pronunciation they gave is pecan.
Pecan, yeah.
So, pecan pie, there's not much to say about pecan pie. I love pecan pie. I love it too. It's one of my favorites. Yeah. I think of Thanksgiving with pecan pie.
You really?
Yeah.
I don't. I think of the summer.
Do you really?
Oh, yeah.
We always have pumpkin and pecan pie at Thanksgiving.
See, and I think of pecan pie in the summer.
I mean, I'll eat it in the summer.
I don't know why, but that's what we think.
I'll eat it all year long, but we always have it at Thanksgiving.
Maybe it's because when I go on vacation vacation, I go down south. That's when I get it. At the Virginia Diner. I don't know if you've ever been there before.
Your family doesn't have it at Thanksgiving?
No. Really? We just have pumpkin. We're purists at Thanksgiving.
We have pumpkin and pecan.
Yeah. But we usually hit a diner on the way to and from the beach called the Virginia Diner, and they have wonderful pecan pie or pecan pie, depending on how you say it. And great breakfast, too.
Awesome. Do they have blueberry muffins?
I'm sure they do.
There you go, blueberry muffin day.
They have really good grits, too.
They have pina coladas?
Not in the morning.
Okay. I do love grits. Grits are one of my favorites.
I was always hesitant about those until, I don't know when it was. It was recently, within the last few years. And they're excellent.
Are you a butter with grits or cheese?
Butter with grits.
Okay, because a lot of people like. Well,
I don't think I've ever had cheese with grits.
There's butter, there's the butter people, and there's the cheese people.
I would have never guessed that.
And I like butter. I use butter on my grits. And I also love shrimp and grits.
I've never had that before.
I've made.
That's a different flavor combination.
Oh, a lot of it's very popular.
Is it really?
It's a classical dish.
I would have never
shrimp and grits, and
that.
I usually like mine with green onion and
Where do you
cheddar
get shrimp
cheese
and grits at, though?
You make it. You make
Other than
grits,
make it, can you buy it anywhere? Do they prepare?
Oh yeah, restaurants. A lot of southern down south. When you're down there, look for it. I'm sure you'll find it. Creole places make shrimp and grits a lot of times.
That would make sense. Yeah.
But my favorite way to make it, I make a scallion or green onion and cheddar grits.
What's the difference between green onions and scallions?
They're very similar. Very similar. We've talked about this before. They can be used interchangeably.
The only reason I bring it up, and a lot of the listening audience probably knows this too, there was a radio skit done years ago. It was called Dragnet Christmas. And they were talking about the difference between scallions and green onions. And there was actually an argument going on in the bit about scallions and green onions.
Okay.
That they weren't the same thing. They're similar, but they're not the same.
Well, I'm not going to argue with you about it. So whatever you want to use, feel free to use it.
It doesn't make a difference.
If you can't find one or the other, use
substitute,
either one.
Yeah, there you go.
And cheddar with shrimp. And I like to kind of bronze my shrimp with Creole seasoning. It's a good meal.
It's different. The other thing, and I'm going back to the Virginia Diner again. I don't know why, but they do have something else. It's a sausage and gravy over biscuits, and they use a sawmill gravy when they do it. And what is in the white gravy? Is it just flour and milk or whatever?
It's a roux. It's flour and butter, and it's traditional bechamel, which is your. You take the traditional. I'm sure they don't make it the traditional way, so I'll just give you the 30-second rundown. Aromatics, which are usually your onions, and for a bechamel, you're supposed to stud them with clove, which means you push cloves into them like studs. Yeah. But they probably don't do that. They probably just sweat their onions with butter, add flour to it to make a roux, add your milk so it thickens. And then you're going to use, and you can even brown sausage ahead of time and use the sausage fat in that as part of the roux, and then you add your sausage back into it, and it becomes a sausage gravy, and you use cracked black pepper.
It's excellent.
Pepper at the end.
Oh, it's great.
And you can actually get sausage and gravy and biscuits at Bob Evans.
Yes, I know that.
My mother loves it.
And it is very good, but down there, the homemade biscuits are like amazing. I mean, they're not these little things. They're huge biscuits that you break apart.
And a lot of places, or young people will even finish their sawmill gravy with some cheese, with like some cheddar or white cheddar folded in there.
I could see doing that. Yeah, I could see doing that.
But yeah, I love it. I mean, I typically, if you go to a small place that's like home style, that makes their stuff homemade, I will get it. Yeah. If I go to like a chain place, I generally try to stay away from it because it, in my mind, I don't, whether it does or not, I'm not 100% sure, but in my mind it comes from a number 10 can, and I don't want to, you don't know what all goes into that or goes around that.
That's good. I never thought of it.
This leads me in perfectly to the next thing, to the first food news segment. Let's talk about 5 surprising food lies.
Sure.
So we're being lied to every day of the week.
Hey, I'm sure we are.
Every hour of the day. The only thing that's necessary that that is the truth is that I'm Mario Pareca and you're Bill Alexander.
Okay.
That's the only thing that people know.
Sounds good.
For sure that's the truth, and what we tell them, because we don't lie.
That's right.
But these people do lie. And so the first thing in the food world that's a huge lie that people don't really know is Chilean sea bass.
It's not Chilean?
No, it's not even sea bass, and it's not from Chile.
Where is it from?
A Chilean sea bass.
It's from
Bob's
nice basement.
Name. Its actual name is the Patagonian toothfish. That's its name, the Patagonian toothfish. And in 1977, a fish wholesaler named Lee Lance wanted to sell Patagonian toothfish to the American market. He realized that nobody wanted to eat a fish with such an unappetizing name, so he tried some different names. He tried Pacific sea bass, he tried South American sea bass, and then he finally settled on Chilean sea bass.
Okay.
The clever name, though, it says here, isn't the only problem with Chilean sea bass. According to 2011 DNA analysis by Peter Marco of Clemson University, 15% of Chilean sea bass sold with eco labels weren't actually from approved sources, which is the sustainable stock. Worse, 8% were actually different species of fish altogether. So have some Patagonian
So in other words,
toothfish.
when I see the local grocery store chains start pushing the Chilean sea bass sometime in August, not to buy it. Okay.
Yeah, I would be very careful on where you get it
because
and who you get it from.
You do see certain times a year they start running TV commercials for it because it's plentiful.
I guess it is a sea bass, but it's not a Chilean sea bass. It's a Patagonian toothfish. So you can go ask them that. Go ask them at the seafood counter at your local supermarket.
That's good.
Go up and say, "Do you have any Patagonian toothfish this evening?"
I'm going to Woolies. Let's go for a ride.
Well, I'm sure Woolies would. But how about this? The first Caesar salad ever made was actually made from scraps. It wasn't a planned thing.
We talked about that. We did.
In 1924, right? And it's not named after. It says it's supposed to be fit for Roman empires, but it's not. 1924 chef Caesar Cardini.
It's named after Caesar,
the chef.
the comedian. No.
Chef Caesar Cardini ran out of food in his restaurant's kitchen, and a customer asked for salad, so he made one. He put together bits of leftover lettuce with olive oil, lemon juice, Worcestershire sauce, egg, garlic, croutons, and Parmesan. He then added the dramatic flair of tossing the salad by the chef at the table side. The crowds loved it, and the Caesar salad was born.
Now wait, what's the dressing on a Caesar salad? At least that?
Then it says here it was olive oil, lemon juice, Worcestershire sauce, egg, garlic, croutons, and Parmesan
Now
cheese.
what is it now?
It's pretty much the same, but
I love Caesar
anchovies
salad.
are widely used in Caesar salads.
Yeah, I love Caesar salad.
We used to make a really good Caesar salad dressing, but again, it's just anchovies. We used to use some Dijon mustard, olive oil, red wine vinegar, but we didn't use raw eggs in ours because a lot of places will use yolks. Is it going to hurt you? Probably not if you use pasteurized eggs.
Right.
But if you're making it at home in single batch, when people would request at the restaurant to have it made tableside, which the servers were trained to do, then they would use the egg yolk.
Okay.
They would use egg product, pasteurized egg product.
Makes sense.
But when we made it in batches and just served it from our menu, we made the dressing without egg in it. So you can do it either way.
Interesting. Very interesting.
But yeah, traditionally it's your Parmesan cheese, black pepper, red wine vinegar, mustard, egg yolks, anchovies. So now let's talk a little bit about meat glue. Meat glue. Or its real name, transglutaminase.
Okay, you can say that again 3 times fast.
Transglutaminase. Now, I have an issue with this because...
I'm sorry, I can't even remember it to say it 3 times fast.
Transglutaminase, or meat glue, is an enzyme that binds protein together.
This was the whole controversy last fall.
It's often used in the food industry to stick together scraps of meat into prime cuts of steak. After the meat is cooked, you can't tell the difference. Now, here's my thing with this. We did use transglutaminase.
Right.
We didn't use it to make fillets.
No.
Okay, like these places say that. But it's a really cool ingredient that if used in the correct way, you can make some really cool things with it. Yes, because you can... For instance, they make a version for fish and seafood as well.
Oh, really?
That will hold seafood together. So you can take 2 lobster tails and
glue them
together like head to tail, on each side, and roll them, and you get this really thick like a lobster fillet.
Oh, really?
And I served, when I did the specials, I served a surf and turf that was a filet mignon of beef paired with a filet mignon of lobster.
Cool.
And they looked pretty identical.
Cool.
So, I mean, I don't like the places who overuse it, who take crap meat, glue it together, to make it say this is a filet mignon. That shouldn't be allowed. But if you take it and use it for things like that, and we also used to make different terrines where we would take a force meat. What that is a ground meat that's mixed with like cream and egg yolk, so it becomes real smooth and creamy. And we'd lay that out and freeze it, and then we'd take like a cut of meat, like a tenderloin, and we'd lay just a little small layer of glue there and roll it up. So now you have this roll of meat that has this either really flavorful with maybe wild mushrooms and garlic and force meat around the outside.
Right.
So you can make some really cool things with it if you
So
use
it's really
it right.
not bad. It's just that they were the whole controversy came because certain places were overusing it. And they were not saying that it was there because they were trying to fool the public.
What they were doing, places that were trying to save money were taking lesser cuts of meat, tossing it with a bunch of this stuff, gluing it together in a shape, and saying this is a filet mignon and charging people for a filet mignon.
Gotcha. Okay.
That's where the controversy comes from.
I gotcha. That makes sense. It really does.
And people are saying, "Ew, it's gross.
Yeah.
It's trans."
Well, because they showed what it looked like.
It's not the pink slime.
Yeah.
It's different, but it's really not. You just have have to make sure you wear gloves when you use it, because it will stick your hands together.
I'm sure.
But
it's glue. It's Gorilla Glue for meat.
Basically. Two more really interesting things here.
Good, because we're almost out of time, yeah.
Fortune cookies, they don't use them in China. Did you know that?
No, I'm just shocked.
Any Chinese restaurant in America, you get your fortune cookie at the end of the meal, right?
Okay.
The origin of the fortune cookie is controversial, but food researchers pointed to its origin as directly Japanese.
Oh, interesting.
A modern version of the fortune cookie was supposedly invented by Japanese bakers who immigrated to the United States. And here's the kicker. In the 1990s, Wonton Food, the largest fortune cookie manufacturer in the United States, attempted to introduce fortune cookies to China, but gave up because the cookies were considered too American by the Chinese. So how about that?
There you go.
And finally,
still like them though.
The final lie, you can't tell the difference between cheap and expensive wine. So a psychologist did a study with regular people and with wine experts, okay? And the study found that people correctly distinguish between cheap and expensive white wines only 53% of the time and only 47% of the time for red wines. The overall result suggested a 50-50 chance at identifying wine expensive or cheap. Now, as far as the, and it was the same thing as far as the experts go, because what he did was, this sly dog, he took all white wine and dyed some of it red to look like red wine, and they didn't know the difference. The experts didn't know the difference.
Now, there was a trader, there's a Trader Joe.
That trader.
Yeah. He has a wine, they refer to it as $2 chuck. And it's cheap wine. It's good. It's cheap wine.
When it comes to wine, it's whatever you like.
It's whatever you like. And we were in Columbus a few years ago, and I had to try it. It's Charles Schwab.
Charles Schwab.
Whatever the wine's called. And we called $2 chuck. It's good. I mean, I liked it. And I'm not a big wine drinker, so.
Yeah. It's whatever you like. And that's what it comes down to, because even these experts, as he said, didn't know the difference. Then he took the same wine, put it in two different bottles. One looked like a cheap bottle, one looked like an expensive bottle. And these wine experts tasted both, and they trashed the cheap-looking one and said how awesome the expensive one was, and it was the same wine.
And on that note, it's time to wrap up a radio show.
Oh, my. We have so much more to talk about. And we will at the Just Dishin podcast. So make sure you go to justdishin.com and check us out there, as we will have extended commentary from Bill and myself there. And again, if you want to call us throughout the week, 855-590-0590 is the number, toll free, and locally at 724-812-0590. So you can call us at any time and leave us a message. And don't forget to check out our website at justcookitradio.com. Go there to find all things Just Cook It Radio, our apps, our the podcast, anything else, all the previous episodes, anything else you want to find, we have there on the website. And if you want to watch us in our entirety, justcookit.tv is where you do that. We will return next week right here on WMBS at 9 a.m. Bill, do you have anything else to add?
It's time to say goodbye.
For Bill Alexander, I'm Mario Pareca. Thank you for tuning in, and we will talk to you on the Just Dishin podcast, and then again on WMBS 1 week from today.
You have been listening to Just Cook It Radio with Mario Pareca and Bill Alexander. For more information on this program and how to download it as a podcast, go to justcookitradio.com. If you have any questions or comments about the show, please call us at 1-855-590-0590.
This has been a $1 Million Baby production.